Where to put it? So in 1991, Skull and Bones tapped 7 female members to become bonesmen.
They're saying, we're going to let women in. The patriarchs are saying, the heck you are. In fact, we're going to use the Russell Trust to block you from accessing your own ritual center.
William F. Buckley, the base of conservatism in America, also a patriarch, when the issue came up of admitting women to Skull and Bones, Buckley remained silent. And when later the decision is made in favor of admitting women to Skull and Bones, Buckley thinks that there must have been voter fraud. It seems to be an old trick. If you don't like the way the election turns out, then cry voter fraud or have the election again.
That's Trump.
William F. Buckley, an intensely conservative man, was very angered by the Russell Trust Association amending the bylaws to go from students, which he said, when the bylaws were founded, could only be men students, and therefore women can come in, and he started a lawsuit. And it was decided that it wasn't helping anyone to wash the society linen in public. There was a vote that was held by the Russell Trust Association.
On October 24th, 1991, a member of the Russell Trust confirms that women are to be admitted into the Skull and Bones, although all members hold fast to their vow of silence.
And this time, the affirmatives for admitting women prevailed 368 to 320. A close margin, but enough to do it and regularize the 7 women that had been admitted.
However, this wasn't the first time the veil slipped, giving the public a look into the ultra-secret Skull and Bones. In the 1980s, historian Anthony C. Sutton receives a dossier from Charlotte Thompson Iserbate, a senior policy advisor to the U.S. Department of Education to the Reagan administration. In it are unreleased documents connected to her father's time spent as a Skull and Bones member. Using the documents and other resources available, Sutton writes a scathing expose of one of America's oldest and largest investment banks, Brown Brothers, Harriman and Company, whose deep ties to the Skull and Bones include overseeing the Russell Trust.
The claims made by Anthony C. Sutton are explosive. He claims that members of the Skull and Bones financed the Nazis via Fritz Thyssen, a German steel magnate whose flow of funds came through a Dutch bank that was affiliated with W.A. Harriman Financial Interest. The Front Bank in Holland was also controlled by Union Banking Corporation in New York City. Now, Skull and Bones' legacy family, the Harrimans, had a financial interest in Union, and Averell Harriman's brother was also a director of the Union Bank Corporation. But the weird thing is, this isn't a law firm. This is an investment bank, and one with lots of international connections. For instance, some of the large clients and big figures who have worked with Brown Brothers, Harriman & Co. include Alan Greenspan, Secretary of Defense Harry S. Truman, PepsiCo Director and Barclays advisor Richard W. Fisher, and U.S. Treasury Under Secretary to JFK Robert Russa. I mean, these are extremely powerful people, and theoretically, the Skull and Bones are directly connected to them.
A company called Union Banking Corporation's 8 directors, 4 were patriarchs of Skull and Bones. One of them, by the way, was Prescott S. Bush, father of the 41st President of the United States, George H.W. Bush, and grandfather of the 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush.
Do I think that perhaps a member or two of Skull and Bones have supported the Nazi regime? I do. But I do not think that the Skull and Bones as a whole is trying to be puppet masters of this new world order. And you have enough members of Skull and Bones that are heads of these large corporations that do things sometimes that are immoral.
An elite group funding 2 opposing sides of a conflict, that's what business interests do.
Control both sides.
Rule America? Or how about the world?
Anthony C. Sutton claims that behind all the mysticism, rituals, and artifice of Skull and Bones, there is a real connection to the Illuminati, and he believes the Skull and Bones are up to the same tricks by only supporting social or political reform, which wouldn't undermine their power.
Nobody knew when they were tapped as 18-year-olds what they might become.
Skull and Bones is nothing like a standard fraternity. For one thing, when Skull and Bones members left Yale, doors began to open for many of them. Doors that led to jobs in spying, espionage, and certain corners of the political world.
And in their own ways, the secret societies were dominating the corporation. And the members of those societies became the great donors for the Yale that we have today, all the way from John William Sterling, the founder of the New York law firm of Sherman and Sterling, right down to Steve Schwartzman, who just gave $150 million 4 years ago, and Fred Smith, whose FedEx Foundation gave $150 million last year. These members of the societies were very loyal to their societies, but also very loyal to Yale.
On February 13, 2017, Skull and Bones member Steve Mnuchin, class of 1985, becomes the United States Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump.
Between 1995 and 2014, he donated $120,000 to political organizations, including 11 Republican donors for the Yale that we have today, all the way from John William Sterling, the founder of the New York law firm of Sherman and Sterling, right down to Steve Schwartzman, who just gave $150 million 4 years ago, and Fred Smith, whose FedEx Foundation gave $150 million last year. These members of the societies were very loyal to their societies, but also very loyal to Yale.
On February 13, 2017, Skull and Bones member Steve Mnuchin, class of 1985, becomes the United States Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump.
Between 1995 and 2014, he donated $120,000 to political